What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Let's talk about Marc Casadó, because Marc Casadó to me has been the biggest revelation for Barcelona so far this season, and that's saying a lot because Barca have had so many surprising players so far in this young season. For example, Íñigo Martínez, who last year was a good player for us but was mostly a squad player and came off the bench. This year, he's obviously been a starter because so many of our starting center backs are hurt, and he's looked amazing. Forget being one of the best center backs in La Liga. He's been one of the best center backs in Europe so far this year. That's how good he's been. And the numbers back it up, by the way. And the eye test backs it up. If you've watched Íñigo this year, you know he's been amazing. So again, Íñigo has been a huge surprise. Robert Lewandowski, who I thought last year was washed, this year, he might win the fucking Golden Boot and looks like one of the best strikers in Europe. So obviously, he's surprised me. I think most Barca fans are surprised with what they see from Lewa because even if you thought he was washed or not, no one expected him to be this good at 36 years old after coming off the 2 seasons that he had the previous 2 years. I mean, again, they weren't the best seasons for him. And then this year, to do what he's doing, it's crazy. But again, at 36, it's impressive. So he surprised me massively. And I gotta eat what I said with Robert Lewandowski because again, he shut me up. Also, Rafinha, who obviously last year under Xavi, we saw the second half of the year, he looked amazing, but I don't think anybody ever saw this. I'm the biggest Rafinha fan you will find, and if you've watched my channel for a long time, whether it's here or on TikTok, you know that's a fact. I love Rafinha. I've always backed Rafinha. I think he's an amazing player. I never saw this, man. He's looking like one of the best players in Europe so far this year. I mean, if Barca continue on this track and Rafinha continues to play this way, which I believe he will, and I believe Barca will continue to play this way, he might win the Ballon d'Or. I don't even think Rafinha's mom thought he could win the Ballon d'Or. So again, he's been a huge surprise. Íñigo, Lewandowski, Rafinha, they've all been massive surprises, like I said, but they don't compare to Marc Casadó because Marc Casadó he's only playing because he was supposed to be a short-term replacement for Marc Bernal. And Marc Bernal was only playing because he was supposed to be a short-term replacement for Frenkie de Jong and Gavi. You know, like Barca didn't sign a pivot in the summer because we were waiting for Gavi and Frenkie de Jong to get healthy. And in the meantime, they said, you know, we might as well rely on the Masia kids. And if you watch my channel in the summer when the transfer window was going on, I hated that. I hated the fact that we're gonna say, you know, we're gonna rely on these two inexperienced kids. But I gotta be honest, man, they shut me up as well. I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong, and they shut me up. Joan Laporta and Deco, I still think they did not do a good job in the summer transfer window. But again, they were right. I was wrong because Marc Casadó and Marc Bernal are clearly good enough. And I gotta eat my words. And I'm sorry for ever doubting La Masia because those two guys, honestly, before Bernal got hurt, he was looking like one of the best players in the world at his position. And Casadó, since Bernal got hurt, he obviously has the starting spot now. He's looked like the best DM in the world. Obviously, with Rodri being hurt, it's a lot easier, but still, he's looked like the best DM in the world, and the stats back that up. And again, these guys were just supposed to be like replacements for Gavi and Frenkie de Jong until they got healthy. And obviously, we still had Gundogan at the time, but they were never supposed to be starters and like actual key pieces to this team. And they are. I mean, I don't know. I want to talk about this in this video as well a little bit later, but I don't see how the best Barca midfield, when everybody's healthy, it doesn't include Marc Casadó. He has to be in that midfield because if it's based on merit, which it should be, he's earned a spot in that midfield. That's how good he's been. So again, I'm sorry for doubting La Masia because La Masia always finds a way to produce, man, every single time. Like, and you know what the crazy thing is about Marc Casadó? Marc Casadó is 21. He's not a young La Masia kid like Bernal, who's 17, or Cubarsí, who's 17, or Lamine, who's 17, or Fermin, or Gavi, who are all super young. He's 21. He's the same age as like Bukayo Saka, basically. And he never really got a chance to prove himself on the first team because, you know, Xavi never played him. We've known about Marc Casadó for a long time. Barca fans, like even me, who I don't really follow Barca that closely, I've known about Marc Casadó for like 2 years. We were talking about him being the potential Busquets replacement. That's 2 seasons ago, and he never really got the chance under Xavi. He was on the bench. He made appearances from time to time. You know, against Atletico Madrid last year at the Metropolitano, the 3-0 game where Fermin scored a goal. Fermin scored and Lewandowski scored. He came off the bench in that game, but he never really got a chance to play under Xavi. And it looked like he wasn't going to get a chance to play under Flick. But obviously with Bernal's injury, he was and he also played in the preseason, by the way. So I'm sure he was on Flick's plans. But again, I don't think he was going to be a starter for Flick. But because of the injuries, he became a starter. And again, at 21 years old, he's looking like a guy who should have been on the first team for years, man. Honestly, it pisses me off. This guy could have been better. We could have had him over Romeo last year and solved so many of our issues. But again, I'm not trying to blame Xavi or any of that because, again, hindsight is always 20/20. But looking at Marc Casadó, I'm like, Jesus Christ, man, we could have had this kid for like the past season and a half, and he could have been so much better than whatever the fuck we were throwing out there with obviously Romeo. And again, like I said, I think he's been so good, man. And I think the thing for me about Marc Casadó was that when I watched him in the preseason, his stature kind of it worried me because he wasn't big enough to win those aerial duels because he's only 5'8", which is obviously not the shortest person ever. But when you're a DM, you want to be ideally like Marc Bernal, who's like 6'3", 6'4". Casadó's not that tall, but so again, he can't win those aerial duels. But when you see him on the pitch, he kind of has like an N'Golo Kante presence where you can't really get the ball off him, man. He's so strong on the ball. It's hard, like you overlook his stature with how good he is Honestly, like, it's so hard to get the ball off Marc Gasol. In the same, like I said, with N'Golo Kante. N'Golo Kante was never the biggest guy, but if you watched him on the pitch, he always appeared so much bigger because his presence on the pitch was large. And that's the same thing with Marc Gasol. Now, obviously, I'm not saying he's N'Golo Kante because they're very different profiles and obviously very different players, but he has that similar aspect to him where you just think, wow, this guy, like, his stature is nothing. Even at a position where you could be, where being taller helps, it doesn't matter for him. Like, this is Marc Gasol. These stats are crazy, by the way. I'm going to read some stats out to you guys because honestly, this is insane. Since the international break started, I've been really diving into Marc Gasol, watching film and reading stats about him. And it's honestly remarkable. I want to read some stats to you guys. Marc Gasol versus top 5 league midfielders this season. He's first in tackles. He's 6th in accurate progressive passes. And also, this is the stat that's crazy to me. In possession adjusted tackles, he's first. What does that stat mean for you guys? For those of you guys that don't know, that you don't know the advanced stats. Possession adjusted tackles, basically, it accounts for how long your team has the ball. Because obviously, it's a lot easier to make a defensive contribution when you don't have possession of the ball, because the only way to make a defensive contribution is when you don't have the ball. Right? That's the only way defending is when you don't have the ball. So, for him to be first in that stat when Barca are a team, especially against these La Liga teams that are not as good as them, they're always holding most of the ball. For him to be first in that stat is crazy, man. It is actually insane. It's crazy, man. Because Barca always have the ball. So but anytime Barca need to get the ball back, Marc Gasol is getting them the ball back. He's insane, bro. Also, some other stats that I want to read out to you guys that I saw here. Marc Gasol this season, 9 games, 652 minutes, 2 assists, 69 passes per 90, which is crazy. 2.9 accurate long balls per 90. Again, a great stat. 90% pass accuracy, insane. 1.1 key passes per 90, really, really good. 2.6 tackles per 90, great. 1.4 clearances per 90, and 60% of all duels won. Over half of his duels, he's winning. I mean, how insane is that, man? And again, this is a guy who we never expected to see play significant minutes this season, but now, like, what I want to get to now that we read his stats and kind of talked about him a little bit, is I want to get you guys' opinion on this as well. What do we do now when everybody's healthy? Because this is a good, like, Barca, this is a good problem to have. Injuries are never a good thing, but injuries can be good sometimes because it lets you see who you have on your bench. And the injuries to Frenkie de Jong, the injuries to Pedri, to Gavi to start the season, made us realize that we have gems here with Bernal and Casadó. And now, obviously, we can't use Bernal because we can't use, that sounds awful. We're not using anybody. That sounds like it's child labor. We can't play Bernal, or who the fuck is we? You're not the coach, buddy. Barca can't play Bernal because obviously he's hurt, but we can play Casadó. I'm going back to the but Barca can play Casadó, obviously. So, I don't see how you take him out of this midfield. Frenkie de Jong, you guys know I'm considered a Frenkie de Jong glazer on the obviously in Barca spaces. People hate me because I back Frenkie de Jong and most Barca fans hate him. I think Frenkie de Jong is class, and I think Barca fans massively underrate how good Frenkie de Jong is and the contributions that he's made for us in the time that he's been at the club. I think Frenkie de Jong is that good of a player. But again, he's not as good defensively as Marc Gasol. He's not as good defensively as Marc Gasol. He's simply not. Frenkie de Jong has a lot of liabilities defensively, but again, going forward, he's a beast. So, when the midfield is fully healthy, again, you have Fermin, you have Dani Olmo, who's still hurt, you have Pedri, you have Marc Gasol, and you have Frenkie de Jong. That's 5 near elite midfielders, man. That's a really, really good midfield. So I don't know how Hansi Flick is going to do this. Again, Hansi Flick has proven to us that it's mostly merit-based, as it should be. Because no one's spot is guaranteed at Barcelona. I don't care how good you are. No one's spot is guaranteed because, again, it's based on merit, and no one has earned it more than Marc Gasol. So Gavi's got to earn, I love Gavi. He's got to earn his spot back on the team. Frenkie de Jong has got to earn his spot back on the team. Pedri, I mean, he's been playing kind of like a double pivot with Marc Gasol. Not really a double pivot because obviously Pedri goes forward and Gasol kind of stays back. But he's been kind of operating that two-man midfield with Casadó, and they've looked great. I really like seeing Pedri in this deeper role and with Olmo playing the 10. So I want to see Olmo as a 10 because what I've seen from Olmo and that combination that he's had with Lewandowski, with Lamine, and with Rafinha on that front four, it's looked amazing. Honestly, the games that we've seen them play together, those front four, it's been insanely good. People always talk about Lewandowski, Rafinha, and Lamine, but Dani Olmo's part of that front four as well. He's been fantastic. So again, it's hard for me to see Olmo getting dropped once he comes back. I love Fermin, but I mean Olmo has to be there. But again, going back to Marc Gasol, you play him in that midfield, and you play Pedri in that midfield. And I think for me, yes, it all comes down also to who you're playing. Because if you're playing a team that is a low block, you obviously want to have Pedri's presence because he's so good against a low block, because he's so technically sound. But if you're playing against a team that's more transition based, mostly like we're talking about Europe, when you're playing against a team that has your quality, you would want to start Frenkie de Jong because he has that quality in transition. He can carry the ball forward. So again, it's a good problem to have, but I don't see how Marc Gasol gets dropped in this team. I really don't see it. If he does get dropped, it's going to be a huge mistake because he's earned the right to be on the team. He's honestly earned the right. He's been the best DM in Europe so far since he's played. I'm not even being hyperbolic when I say that, by the way. If you've watched him play, you know how good he's been. I mean, his passing, his decision making on the fly is so good, man. Whenever he receives the ball, he always has an option. He always knows where to go, and that's obviously a great trait for a midfielder. It's a trait that obviously La Masia players always have. That's the same way that Xavi was, the same way that Iniesta was. I was gonna say rest in peace to Iniesta. Why do I always think about saying rest in peace? I did this. The same shit happened when I talked about Marc Bernat in a video a month back. I was like about to say rest in peace. Iniesta retired, not rest in peace, but happy retirement, I guess. Then that's Iniesta. Love the guy, but anyway, you know, he has those La Masia traits where he's really good at making decisions on the fly. Like I said, he's very strong on the ball. He can carry the ball forward. His long balls are fantastic as well. You know, he had that pass to Lamine Yamal in the goal against Monaco. He played that long ball to Lamine Yamal. You know, so for me, as a deep lying playmaker, as a guy who can play as a DM, he's been fantastic so far. And I've loved seeing that. I've loved seeing the partnership of him and Pedri, one going forward, one staying back. And again, before him it was Bernal, but that's again the power of La Masia. And I want to apologize because I doubted La Masia. I want to apologize one more time because you should never doubt La Masia. We as Barca fans, we should never doubt La Masia because it truly is the greatest academy on the planet Earth, and it's really not even close. What other academy can spawn kids just like this? A 21-year-old man. This kid's 21. Again, he's around my fucking age. We're almost the same age. But anyway, like, he's 21 years old. And, you know, he just waited his time, finally got a chance to prove himself on the first team and showed that he should have been there from the start. So again, for me, I'm really happy to see Casadó thrive because I never doubted him in the preseason, but I didn't think he was going to be this good once the actual game started because, again, the preseason for times, he looked shaky. But this season, he's never looked shaky once. He's never looked shaky once. He's been fantastic in the UCL matches. He was fantastic against Alaves. So good against Alaves, bro. It was actually insane how good he was against Alaves. Just an unsung hero every single game. A guy who people aren't really going to talk about. But if you watch Barca games, which I know if you guys are watching this, you probably do. And obviously me being a fan, a diehard fan, I've watched every game. You see, what did I have to add that in there? You know what I mean? Like, well, why am I trying to being a diehard fan? I went to every game. Like, no one asked you that, bro. I don't know what I'm talking about. This video has been all over the place, but again, I haven't posted in a long time. I haven't been posting that much, so I have a lot of shit built up. But anyway, guys, I just want to say I'm really proud of Marc Casadó, like I'm his fucking dad. I'm really happy for Marc Casadó and what he's shown us so far this season. The stats say that he's been one of the best DMs. The eye test says he's been one of the best DMs. And honestly, man, just the performances, they scream this kid is next up. This kid, I keep calling him a kid. He's 21, bro. He's almost the same age as you. But anyway, man, I want to know what you guys think. What do you think of Marc Casadó? What do you think Barca should do once they have a fully healthy midfield? Does he still stay on the team, or would you guys drop him from somebody else? What does your ideal Barca midfield look like once everybody's healthy? Again, it comes down to personnel, who you're playing. That's obviously you gotta adjust to who you're playing. You're not just gonna have a set midfield for every single game because every team is different and depends on the style of playing, all that stuff, and what Hansi Flick wants to do in that particular game. But again, it's hard for me to see a team that Marc Casadó can't play against. You know, when I was reacting to that video from the dudes that made the power rankings, I'm not even trying to be mean. I actually, box to box, when I was reacting to this guy was talking about how you're gonna bring Marc Casadó to the Santiago Bernabeu, and you know, in that video I was like, what are you talking about? Marc Casadó is good. You know, I defended Marc Casadó because I was like, this guy obviously doesn't watch Barca because he doesn't realize how good Marc Casadó is. And now it's looking like a stupid take. I'm sorry, bro, if you're watching this video. Again, I mean no hate to you or your channel or your community. I think you guys are dope. But that's looking like the stupidest take ever by the day. Because Marc Casadó, I trust him going into the Bernabeu. I 100% trust him. Give me 11 Marc Casadós and we'll beat Real Madrid. Fuck it, man. Actually, no, put me in goal. Give me 10 Marc Casadós and then put me in goal. Because I think I could do well in there in the Bernabeu. I'll flash the fans behind the goal and it'll be funny as fuck. But anyway, guys, I want to know what you guys. What am I talking about? I want to know what you guys think about Marc Casadó, the best midfielder you guys could see for Barca. For me, it would be, again, I like Pedri playing deeper. I can also see Pedri playing as a 10. But you want to see Gavi play. You want to see Frenkie de Jong play. Again, it's a really good problem to have. And now I'm kind of glad that we got rid of Gundogan because that was going to be even worse. But again, that's a conversation for another day. Let me know what your best Barca midfield looks like. How impressed have you been with Marc Casadó so far this season? Let me know any other thoughts you guys have in the comment section down below. I love every single one of you. Thank you so much for watching. And I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace out.